Lil Durk has just been sent to protective custody following a violent altercation involving Quando Rondo's crew. And to make matters worse, reports now suggest that he may be at risk of never being released again, a shocking turn of events that has left fans, the hip-hop industry, and even some of his closest affiliates scrambling to make sense of what could possibly happen next to the Chicago rap star. To truly understand how we even got to this point, we need to dive deep into the layers of tension that have been building up for years. The incidents that unfolded during his most recent show where NBA YoungBoy decided to publicly shade him in front of the world, and the aftermath that saw Durk's camp in violent conflict with men linked to YoungBoy and Quando Rondo, leaving a trail of injuries and chaos, so severe that the authorities had no choice but to lock Durk down under protective measures. Now, let's really peel the situation back, because what's happening is not just about one man's safety. It's about the ongoing power struggle in hip-hop, the consequences of long-standing beefs, and how one of the most successful rappers in the game might now be staring at the possibility of having his entire career taken away in an instant. Please do not forget to like this video, share and subscribe to this channel if you want more updates like this. Thank you. Now, let's get back into the video. From the very beginning, Lil Durk's career has been built on both triumph and tragedy. He rose from the dangerous streets of Chicago's South Side, where his music became an outlet not just for himself, but for an entire generation of people who saw their lives reflected in his pain and persistence. His affiliation with OTF, Only the Family, was more than just a label. It was a brotherhood forged in loyalty, street struggles, and a vow to never let the outside world tear them apart. But as his fame skyrocketed, so did the enemies, and the name Lil Durk became synonymous with the tension surrounding Chicago drill music. King Von's legacy and the constant back and forth with rappers aligned with NBA YoungBoy. The death of King Von in 2020 was a turning point that threw gasoline on an already burning fire, because Quando Rondo, a known affiliate of NBA YoungBoy, was directly involved in that tragic night. Ever since then, the world has watched both sides clash indirectly through songs, interviews, cryptic posts, and subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, disses. And fans had always sensed that this beef was never truly going to settle. Fast forward to this most recent performance, where everything came to a head. Lil Durk had been preparing for what was supposed to be one of his most high-energy, crowd-pleasing shows, and his fans were there in full force, ready to scream every lyric and wave OTF signs in the air. But what nobody expected was that NBA YoungBoy, who has never been shy about voicing his disdain for Durk and his camp, would take that very moment to send a brutal and public shot at him. On stage, YoungBoy let loose a scathing statement that wasn't just a diss. It was a direct insult, the kind that you cannot just brush under the rug. The crowd went wild. Social media caught fire within minutes, and everyone knew that Durk, with his reputation and pride, wasn't going to sit back quietly. What happened next spiraled out of control. Reports claim that members affiliated with YoungBoy and Quando Rondo confronted people from Durk's team later that night, and what started as heated words quickly escalated into physical altercations. Witnesses described the scene as pure chaos, bottles flying, fists swinging, and even serious injuries being reported as rival crews clashed in a storm of anger and revenge. By the time security and police got involved, it was already too late to stop the damage. Several people were hospitalized, some were arrested, and the spotlight once again turned to Durk as a central figure in what was being described as a gang-affiliated eruption. And while Durk himself may not have thrown a punch or lifted a hand during the fight, the authorities saw him as a high-risk individual, not just a victim, not just a star, but someone whose presence could ignite further violence. That's why the shocking decision was made. Lil Durk was placed into protective custody. Now, protective custody sounds like something you only hear about in mob movies or TV dramas, but in reality, it's a serious measure. It means that law enforcement and correctional officials believe that keeping someone in the general population or letting them walk freely could put their life in immediate danger. In Durk's case, this is about more than safety. It's about survival, because the enemies he has made over the years are not the type to play fair. They are calculated, relentless, and fueled by years of animosity and bloodshed. The idea that Durk is in protective custody has sent shockwaves through his fan base because it essentially strips him of his freedom, keeping him under lock and key with no clear timeline of release. Here's where things get even darker. Insiders are now claiming that Durk's protective custody may not just be temporary. There's growing speculation that the legal and safety concerns surrounding him could keep him there indefinitely. And think about what that means, not just for his personal life, but for his career. This is a rapper who's been dominating charts, collaborated with some of the biggest names in music, and carrying the weight of an entire movement on his shoulders. He was just beginning to cement himself as one of the most respected figures in hip-hop. And now, that could all be taken away in the blink of an eye. The fear of never getting released is not just paranoia. It's rooted in reality. Authorities have to weigh whether allowing Durk to return to normal life could spark more violence. Remember, the YoungBoy and Durk rivalry is not a minor spat. It has already cost lives, ruined careers, and created dangerous divides across the industry. Every time these camps collide, blood spills. So, if the state feels that keeping Durk contained is the only way to prevent another bloodbath, they may have no choice but to keep him under protective custody for as long as they deem necessary. For Durk supporters, this feels like deja vu. They've already seen him lose so much. Close friends, his brother Detang, and most tragically King Von. They've seen him bounce back from heartbreak and trauma, only to become stronger in his music. But this time feels different, because you can't fight your way out of protective custody. You can't drop a diss track and make the problem go away. You can't just move to another city and hope the beef cools down. This is a system stepping in and saying, enough is enough. And if history has taught us anything, once the system has its grip on you, it rarely lets go. What makes the story even more compelling is how it reflects the current state of hip-hop itself. For decades, rap has been an outlet for real stories, real struggles, and real beefs. But in today's era, the lines between entertainment and real-life consequences have blurred to the point of no return. Lil Durk, YoungBoy, and Quando Rondo are not just rappers. They are symbols of two rival legacies clashing in ways that cannot be contained on wax. Fans have fueled the rivalry. Social media has amplified it. And every move these men make is scrutinized, dissected, and turned into content. But behind the headlines are real lives, real families, and real consequences.